On 17th January 1983, the Ghanaians in Nigeria woke up to a sad and heartbreaking news. The president of Nigeria, Alhaji Shehu Shagari, had just ordered a mass deportation of nearly 1 million Ghana immigrants living and earning a living in Nigeria. The president said in his words, if they don't leave, they should be arrested and tried and sent back to their homes. Now, how did Nigeria get to the level that they had to expel or send Ghanaians away from the country? To answer that, let me take you back to the very beginning. But before we continue, please like this video for the algorithm, subscribe to my channel, and enable post notification so you will never miss my African stories. It all started in the 1970s when Nigeria was experiencing an oil boom while Ghana was undergoing political and economic difficulties. Nigeria, a young and soon-to-be liberated country with a population of about 100 million people, discovered oil in 1958. Multinational companies like Shell, Mobil and Ajip were the first to set up offices in the country and commence the drilling of oil commercially. Despite the political instabilities in the nation then, the oil money was stable and hopes were high that Nigeria could flourish. The oil prices surged worldwide. The economy was booming massively. The golden era had arrived and Nigeria had become Africa's wealthiest, earning the nickname, the Giant of Africa. The quality of life then in Nigeria was second to none in Africa. People moved from the rural areas to big cities such as Lagos, Port Harcourt, Ibadan, Kano, and Calabar. The immigration was not only from within Nigeria, but also from other parts of West Africa. In 1983, a dark chapter unfolded between Nigeria and Ghana, and it is a tale that still resonates today. This was triggered by the mass expulsion of Ghanaian illegal immigrants ordered by Nigeria's head of state. This incident sparked a chain of events that led to the birth of the Ghana Must Go Back. The twists and turns of this story will urge you to keep watching until the very end. On the other hand, Ghana, the world's largest cocoa producer in the 1960s, was experiencing the direct opposite. The drop in the global price of cocoa and the 1966 coup, which toppled independence leader Kwame Nkrumah, triggered a lethal mix of starvation and rebellion and the gateway of Africa, Ghana. The country's population was roughly 7 million at the time, less than 10% of Nigeria's population, but millions of Ghanaians decided to travel east to try their luck in the rich land of Nigeria. Ghanaians flocked to Nigeria in such large numbers that it appeared that every Ghanaian household had a relative working there. Nigeria as at then was the Canada or the United Kingdom in Africa. Ghanaian teachers were well known in primary and secondary schools across the 19 states that existed at the time. Neighbors from the West flooded law offices, shoe repair shops, ice cream parlors, restaurants and brothels. However, the then Nigerian government did not wake up one day and decided to expel almost 2 million Africans from the country. In 1982, the United States and Canada went into a great recession, which led to a drop in their demand for crude oil and a fall in global oil prices. The price of a barrel had dropped to $29 in 1983 from $37 in 1980. Around the same time, the United States began producing its oil, reducing demand even further and causing an oversupply. Nigeria, whose economy is entirely oil dependent, was particularly heavily struck by these developments. By 1982, the country's foreign reserves had been depleted by 90%. Nigeria was left with no choice but to look inward, as it could no longer bear the heat of the economic meltdown. In 1982, as Nigerians prepared for the 1983 general elections, politicians began to utilize phrases like aliens in their manifestos. According to the politicians, they attributed the country's economic downtime to the influx of African migrants, especially Ghanaians. At that time, the politicians claimed that Ghanaians had taken up all of the employment and introduced crime to Nigeria. And if elected, they promised and they threatened that Ghana must go. Nigeria and Ghana are good allies that have maintained their friendship since before independence. However, in 1954 and 1969, Ghana on 2 occasions expelled Nigerians from their country, claiming that Nigerians were taking over the job opportunities which were supposed to be for their citizens, thereby mounting pressure on Ghana's economy. By 1982, the Ghana-Nigeria relationship deteriorated to the point where Nigeria suspended the supply of crude oil to Ghana under a loan agreement. As the feud between the two governments continued, so did the feud between the citizens. Nigerians were no longer willing to accept foreigners in their country. It was alleged that Ghanaians and other foreigners in Nigeria were posing great threats to the peace in Nigeria. The straw that broke the camel's back was when Mohamed Marwa, alias Meita Sine, a Cameroonian expatriate, organized a religious insurrection that resulted in the deaths of many and the robbery at Alexander Ekweme's residence, the then Vice President of Nigeria. Meita Sine, his followers, and the squad of armed robbers were expatriates from Burkina Faso, Niger, Cameroon, and Ghana. By the time the police had concluded their investigations, it was evident that the culprits were all undocumented illegal immigrants. As a result, Nigeria was thrown into chaos. In response, the Nigerian President Alhaji Shehu Shagari issued an executive order on the 17th of January 1983, expelling nearly 2 million illegal African migrants from the nation, of which more than half of them were Ghanaians. They were given 2 weeks to leave the country or risk being arrested and prosecuted. The pronouncement led to the massive demand for checkered bags, popularly known as the Ghana Must Go bag. Everyone was in a hurry to leave, and the border crossings were a mess, with desperate people carrying their luggages on their heads and selling whatever they couldn't carry along to pay for the doubled cost of transport. Millions of people fled by any available exit, including through western Nigeria and northern Benin. The number of cases of stampedes was on the rise down south, near the Seme border in Lagos. Hundreds of people were placed into open transport trucks and driven to Ghana. However, Ghana's military leader, Jerry Lawrence, ordered the borders with Togo blocked to deter coup plotters and insurgents, preventing movement for days. In response and to avoid a refugee crisis, Togo closed its borders with Benin. People were trapped in the intense heat and without water around the Benin-Togo border to Lagos, and there was a breakout of contagious diseases. The government of the United States offered some assistance by providing 500 tents, 10,000 blankets, and thousands of buckets, which were airlifted by the League of Red Cross Societies. It was a fantastic news for Ghanaian refugees. They were greeted by relatives and friends with tears in their eyes as they returned home. This is the true story behind every Ghana Must Go bag. However, it should be noted that Nigeria and Ghana are still closest friends today, having put the past behind them. I would love to shout out to 2 of my Ghanaian friends, Maxwell and Raymond. I hope to meet you guys someday when I visit Ghana for some video documentaries. Let me know what you think about the current Ghana-Nigeria relationship. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and enable post notification so you will not miss any of my stories. Thank you.